Thank you, sir. I would be talking to you about small pupil phacoemulsification, and it is important to define how small is small. Small pupil is generally defined as less than 4 millimeter diameter, but any pupil of adequate size that surgeon believes he may struggle with is small pupil. The etiology of small pupil includes pseudoexfoliation, uveitis, diabetes, aging, previous trauma, prolonged use of myotics, iridocytosis, anterior segment dysgenesis, previous ocular surgery, laser or iris sphincter fibrosis, or the floppy iris syndrome. There can be two scenarios. One is when the pupil is small right from the beginning of the surgery. The second is when it becomes small during the surgery. And there is classically described as what is called the pupil snap sign, especially if the pupil suddenly constricts during hydrosection, then one should suspect a posterior capsular tear. Preoperatively, various measures can be taken. It is preferable to dilate the pupil on the day of the surgery. The mydriatics such as tropicamide, phenylephrine and cyclopentolate. We avoid dilating 1 day prior to surgery. For a persistent intraoperative mydriasis, NSAIDs have been advocated such as ketorolac, flurbiprofen and diclofenac. Some people even advocate the use of anesthetic agents along with these drops because it increases the permeability of these drops. Now, there are various methods of dilatation of small, include the pharmacological methods and the surgical methods, and I'll be going through these as I go through my presentation. To prevent the meiosis from occurring, one can use non-preserved epinephrine 0.5 ml and 500 ml of BSS in the infusion bottle, and if there is an intraoperative meiosis, then one can also use 0.5 ml preservative-free intracameral epinephrine 1 in 10,000 dilution. Now, this is just to highlight how viscoelastic agents such as Helon or a Helon GV can be used to dilate the pupil, and at least you can get a size of the capsulorhexis that you want, although this may be only temporary because as you aspirate the pupil again becomes small. There are surgical methods which have been defined such as membrane removal, classical Osher's membrane removal, especially in a uveitic pupil. So you should remove and see if there are any membranes present. They should be removed. It can be done with the help of a capsulorhexis forceps. Additionally, there may be inflammatory membrane which may be different from the one, which may be different from the anterior capsule, and one has to identify that, which one can identify with the trypan blue staining. People even advocate multiple partial sphincterotomies with either runners or retinal scissors, but they can lead to permanent pupil distortion, causing cosmetic and functional problems. Then there are stretching methods by spatula, Sinskey hook, Beeler or acute pupil dilator. Is a simple technique, but you do have flaccid iris which may prolapse through the incision and the iris sphincter may be permanently damaged. Now, the nylon hooks, which we are all familiar with, this is a case of complicated cataract. Synecholysis is being done and simultaneously viscoelastic is injected. The pupil does dilate, but not that much. So nylon hooks are being used. You have to make 4 side ports which should be equidistant, and the nylon hooks should be placed in position in such a manner that they stretch the pupil. They have symmetrical tension all around the sphincter of the pupil. And generally, we like to first put all the nylon hooks and then stretch them at a later part of the procedure. Then the important thing is that you may have nuclear fragments which may be there near the nylon hooks, and one needs to be careful about these, and if required then one needs to disengage them and then aspirate them. And notice that there is stenting of the iris which occurs when you use the nylon hooks. The pupil does get slightly distorted. You may aspirate iris tag, especially if it is a uveitic pupil, and so one has to be careful about these things. Diamond configuration of nylon hooks has also been described, so that through the main incision you put one nylon hook does not cause repeated iris prolapses. The second device, which has been described as the Greether pupil expander, which is an incomplete silicone ring with a groove in the outer surface, which engages the sphincter's margin to enlarge the pupil, and in the expanded state, its diameter is 6.3 millimeter. There's a small strap of 3.5 millimeter, which is placed near the incision so that you can manipulate with the help of the instruments near the incision, and there is no obstacle to that. The prerequisites are that one should have a free pupil before putting it. So do synecholysis, use viscoelastic agent, And preferably it should be done before the capsulorhexis, because it gets difficult otherwise to do after the capsulorhexis. Now this is the Gridha pupil expander. It has to be injected. You do not require any additional paracentesis or wounds. It can be done through the main wound, and once it is ejected out with the help of a second instrument such as a Sinskey or even a Lester hook, the broad part of the iris sphincter is engaged into the groove that is present in the broad part of the Gridha pupil expander, and this can be done by manipulating it with the help of two instruments. Now notice that there are no rotational forces involved in it. It stabilizes the pupil quite well. It keeps it apart, and there is a 3.5 millimeter band through which you can manipulate with the help of your instruments. There are no iris tags, especially if it is a uvetic pupil coming, because the flat part of the expander actually keeps it away. The removal is also quite simple. You have to just disengage it with the help of the Sinskey from one end and the other end, and it comes out quite easily. The next device that we have is the Malugan ring, which is a square-shaped temporary implant which curls at each angle of the ring that provides equidistant, gentle holding of the iris. And this first has to be placed inside the injector, and through the main incision again one can eject it out. It does not require any additional paracentesis or side post creation. It has 4 scrolls. Essentially the distal scroll comes out, and simultaneously the 2 lateral scrolls come out. You may have to manipulate the lateral scrolls into position, and the proximal scroll actually remains on the iris as you take the injector, and this then has to be placed over the proximal part of the iris with the help of the 2 Sinskey hooks. Now, important thing is again that this keeps the pupil stretched. It keeps the iris apart. You do not aspirate the iris tags or while doing phacoemulsification or irrigation aspiration. And again, through the same injector, it comes out quite easily. It is ejected out. So to conclude, whenever you are performing a small pupil phacoemulsification, preoperatively you should take measures to prevent it, and intraoperatively one should begin with the medical methods, and if one fails, then you should always have the surgical devices at hand in the operation theatre, and avoid intraoperative complications in some cases and perform safe surgery. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Namrata.